right, my friends. I guess I might be a little paranoid. How do our brains perceive the world around us with Aunt Anil Seth? Now, this is from the Royal Institute in London. These are the big
Good way
guys
to think about this is that
in science, okay?
perception.
The Royal
It's
Institute.
a kind of controlled hallucination, really. It
Now,
comes.
listen, do you hear what he's saying? Perception is a controlled hallucination. Now, I see that as a foot from what could be a new species. And I've done the research on it pretty good. Now, this is, no question, this is a human lung that is stone now. And the pleura is on here, which is, I understand all this stuff now, how the feldspar is actually fascia. A broken bone, same thing, fascia. A goose head with the feathers still on it. I fully understand all this. Now, some people will have hallucinations. Now, is he referring to me? Because this is Royal Institute. Now, just a few weeks ago, they had this guy on, I forget what his name was, but he came on and he said, don't listen to people that don't accept our science. If they don't accept the mainstream science, pretend you're going to debate with them, don't show up. I'm serious. And this was on Royal Institute. And here's this guy. Listen to what he says. It sounds like he's talking about me. I'm telling you, that's the way these people have treated me right along. Here goes.
The way to think about this is that perception. It's a kind of controlled hallucination, really. It comes from the inside, but it is closely coupled, closely reined in by what's happening in the world. And this is really a very different way to think about perception. What we experience comes just as much from the inside out as from the outside in. It's an active construction.
No, it's an active construction, exactly. The academics refuse to allow this to be seen. Now, my stuff, this I have DNA tests on, I have CAT scans, I have giant creatures too, and I will show you a fingertip right now. Also DNA tested, also CAT scanned from a giant human being, and I also have the hand from this, which is again all DNA tested, CAT scanned, certified in every possible scientific way. These kind of people will not allow it to be seen. So whose mind is deluded and who's in trouble here with their thought process? Let's go back and start over again. Here he comes into it talking about, you know, your mind can get overwhelmed and you have all these questions in your mind. Here goes.
And the sensory signals just calibrate these predictions. They are prediction errors that just report the difference between what the brain is expecting and what it's getting. Sensory signals keep the brain's best guesses closely tied to their causes in the world.
All right, and their best guesses by these kind of guys stop them from even looking. At that point, blip, I'm done, because what you're saying is just too far off the scale. And that is the problem I found with academia for 10 years. Yale is right down the street from me. They will not allow my stuff to be seen there. Even with the CAT scans of DNA, the whole 9 yards. Very, very poor form.
A good way to think about this is that perception. It's a kind of controlled hallucination, really. It comes from the inside, but it is closely coupled, closely reined in by what's happening in the world. And this is really a very different way to think about perception. What we experience comes just as much from the inside out as from the outside in. It's an active construction, a best guess about the world. Now, thinking this way is extremely powerful in understanding conscious perception and cases of unusual experience. For instance, if the brain's predictions are too strong and they overwhelm the information of the senses, then people will experience things that others don't. And
exactly, that's the academic mind. The mind is considered by the owner of that mind to be so strong that it cannot accept these ridiculous, nonsensical statements, regardless if they're backed up by all of the facts. Their mind is overwhelmed, basically. Now, is that a strong mind or is that a weak mind? That's the question.
We call that hallucination. So just as perception is controlled hallucination. Hallucination is a form of uncontrolled perception. Now, we all know that something like this happens in our everyday life. If you walk out of the door on a misty morning and you're expecting to see a friend, you may actually see that friend until you get close up and realize that it's a stranger. Your predictions have suddenly been corrected. Now,
Wow, that's a horrifying thing to think of. What if you get up and walk outside and find a fingertip that is... Well, I have one that's 3 feet long. This one's just a puppy. And the other one is DNA tested too. So that's a little different then, my friend, than seeing somebody and not recognizing them.
Now, what I think is going on is that this process of prediction and prediction error, that doesn't just apply to figuring out what an object is in the world, whether it's your friend or a stranger. It's happening everywhere and all the time. It applies to our experiences of color, of shape, of what objects are, but it goes much deeper than that. It applies to our sense of time, our sense of space, and critically, it applies to the experience of being a self itself. We predict both the world and ourselves into existence.
Well, all I can tell you is that you think of yourself as being, you know, too superior to be questioned. And that's what I found. It's not that anybody can stand up to my evidence, but they cannot. So the final statement is, well, go look it up. You don't have any science. You don't know science. You're not peer reviewed. Well, I'm sorry. These are the kind of minds I find that are the ones that are hallucinating, not me. Remember I told you I had lungs that had blood running them out of? That one right there. All of these little red spots had literally blobs of blood coming out. And these are the alveoli. These are those little alveoli right there, you see? Now, the other one is this one right here. And this one, the blood didn't run out of it, but I drilled up inside into this red spot and got blood out of there and sent it off. And now I harvested the samples. Now, this was the fingertip that I talked about. And here's the hand. Hold on a second. Here's the hand somewhere. All right, here's the hand. Now, this is a left hand. All right, the palm. Just put your hand out like that. You got one of these little things that runs down in your hand, a little tendon, and the other stuff is the bumper pad. Now, this is grip skin. It's peeling off. That's really tough skin. And this is one of the fingertips. I have fingers, and I have the knuckles, and I have actually a toe from this one too. And that's a big creature. Now, I also have these here, which is a giant fingertip. That's on my property, and it's right out in the back here. It's almost 3 feet long. And that's the fingernail. That's that little bumper pad that goes between the bone and the next bone so that they don't crush each other. And it also had the fingerprints on there. And that's a big fingertip. And here's the fingerprints. See it right there? One ridge of a fingerprint is the same as my thumb, about that size. Now, and you can see it. These are what they call sweat pores. That's why this skin is very, very tough, and it's a thick layer. And that's this skin right here. It came off just like that layer right there. And that, if you go back and look, the hand itself had the grip skin. You could see it peeling off. It was silver looking. Now, all of that stuff is all DNA tested too. All right, here's the test, the DNA test. And this goes back 6 years ago. That's why I'm a little kind of annoyed that nobody's taken any interest in this. And like I say, Yale's right down the street from me. Now, there was 3 samples sent. Like I said, this was there, and I harvested it, and I took it right out of some red blood supply spots, and I drilled into it. I didn't just, scrape the surface or anything. So it was, and they were excellent quality. I'll come down here. It goes through the whole thing, how they did it, and the time they soaked it, and they did this, and they did that. And, I don't understand a lot of it, but I do understand that the bottom line is that all of these different sequences that they took out ended up being this, see right here, excellent quality DNA obtained with a 36-inch tip, the lungs and the lung sample, and they were just huge. And they came out to be all 3 of them came out to be this: Homo sapien mitochondrial cytochrome B and Homo sapien mitochondrial D. And all of this is all the CTAG DNA sequences. And this was certified by the lab director. And again, I was the one that extracted the DNA. And I took it from anatomically perfect places, which are arterial blood supplies. So if somebody wants to contest it, come on, contest. I'm not running anywhere. All right, once again, we exceeded light. We sped light up and actually could see light as a particle right there. That's the light particle escaping its wave, and the wave is only there because the particle is magnetic and influences the particles in front of it, creating a wave as the particle goes forward. Now the particle literally has escaped from the wave, and we see it down here as this box of black and white particles. And that, right here, they explode and they divide. Remember what they look like here? And here's what they look like when they divide, and here's what CERN says they should look like, and that's exactly what they look like. There's the black and the white ball together. The black ball continues on, the white ball makes a shower. There's the black ball continuing on, going all the way around, reattaching back here. 0 in here, not a single one. That is fission, right here, dividing. That is fusion, coming back together. No extra energy added whatsoever, just a highly tuned Venturi, which compresses and crushes the fields. Alright, I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm going to tell you right now, these people in the Royal Institution over there in London are the ones that are speaking from the same stage that Mendeleev spoke from. Alright, and let me just tell you something, his periodic table isn't right either. It's close. But hydrogen is not 1 proton and 1 electron. It's 1,839 electrons in the core and 1 more that wants to get in. But the core says, no, we have enough. You just stay out there at 5 angstrom units, whatever it is.
Roger.
Hold on. All right, so as far as I'm concerned, Royal Institution now has started to turn into a science denial system. I'd like to give them credit for being, a very long time scientific institution. Yes, absolutely. Mendeleev spoke from the same stage these people are speaking from. But Mendeleev's work was wrong. Because I'm going to tell you right now, the core of every single atom is made of protons, but protons are made of a certain quantity of electrons, and I believe it's 1,839 electrons. And an electron is not only the electron portion, the glowy white explosive portion, but it is a muon portion too. I believe I've shown this, I believe I've shown it already. Photons are nothing more than 2 electrons back to back. They bounce off of things because of their field. It's push to shove, field to field. They bounce. Electrons incorporate. They want to jump right in and be part of that package they're bumping into. That's static, lightning, that type of discharge. Electricity. This is light. This makes things glow. You shine a light on something, it bounces back at you. Now, I hope I've made my case. And I would love to talk with these people because I comment all the time on their things, but I think I've been cut off, to be honest with you. I commented on this one here, I think, today. Well, not yet, but I will put my video up. Maybe I did, and maybe it's gone already. I think I did. Well, we'll find out next time I do it. If it's still up here, we'll be in good shape. If not, well, we'll know I'm not welcome. Well, I'm pretty sure I put it up here.